Now, ladies and gentlemen, our first debate today on the Urban Debate is an SOS that has been sounded by the IC3 Institute in its report based on NCRB data. This SOS stands for Save Our Students. This new report, titled Student Suicides and Epidemic Sweeping India, reveals that the rate of students killing themselves outpaces several trends and population growth. While the overall numbers increased by 2% annually, student suicides have surged by 4%. In fact, over the past decade, while the population of 0 to 24-year-olds reduced by 1 million to 581 million, the number of student suicides have increased and almost doubled from 6,600 to 13,000. According to this report, in Maharashtra, 14%, in Tamil Nadu, 11%, and in Madhya Pradesh, 10% are identified with 3 states with the highest number of student suicides, as you can see on this graphics on your screen. Together, these 3 states account for 1/3 of the national total. Uttar Pradesh with 8% of suicide rates and Jharkhand with 6% follow next. Surprisingly, Rajasthan, known for its high-stakes academic environment in quota specifically, ranks 10th. So what is causing this epidemic? According to this report, the report has pinpointed a number of important factors associated with student suicides in India. Well, academic distress, focused career choices, ragging and bullying and discrimination, financial stress are some of the reasons. Other factors include lack of support from families and educational institutions, changing family structure, emotional neglect, social apathy, and undetected psychiatric disorders due to lack of communication also contribute to rising suicide rates. We are going to have a very short but meaningful discussion at this point. I am joined by Dr. Bhavna Barmi, who is a child and clinical psychologist, Keshav Agarwal, president of the Educator Society, and I'm also being joined by Ankit Singh Chauhan, UPSC aspirant, a student who can give us the best perspective. Ankit, I'll start with you. You can speak in English or Hindi, whichever you're familiar with. Does the findings of this study come across as a surprise to you as a student yourself, studying for the most toughest exam in the country, perhaps even in the world? We can only imagine the pressure that's on the students, especially for something like UPSC, where an entire youth of a student or candidate or an aspirant goes in just preparing for an exam, and if you don't get in, you really don't know what to do with life after that. So were these findings really a surprise to someone like you?
Good evening. So first of all, to all the members present in this debate. So what we are looking at right now is not the clear picture, because we don't have any robust mechanism about this suicide, particularly in the rural area. If you're talking about this student suicide, so there are multiple factors like academic distress, lack of family support, financial constraint. Students are paying hefty fees for their coaching classes, and they are living far from their home, so they feel a very emotionally distressed. They feel very emotionally distressed. So these suicides are something which is created by the system only. From the sense of the birth, we always inculcate or we try to foster the competitiveness rather than competitiveness. So what we are looking at this is the result of this competitiveness which we are having from since our childhood. Even in school, these small children are, you have seen so many boards on the road where 5th class students and 6th class students are displaying they have got 90%, 99%, 100%. So what to do with this 190%? When the students are not able to handle the pressure or academic distress or these family problems.
Yeah, that's a very important question. Dr. Bhavna Barmi, I mean, it's very easy for us to say that, we should not try to establish a competitive spirit on these students. We should not burden them with pressure. There's a lot more to life beyond just an exam. But we often forget to the way the world was when we were at the age or in our teens or in our early 20s, especially in the case of people studying for IIT, JEE or NEET or for IUPSC as well. Given that these are hyper-competitive exams and they require one to sacrifice almost every aspect of their life, including a lot of resources, whether it be time or effort or money as well, is there really a solution in place? Because we can't stop these exams from being any less competitive.
I agree with you that we cannot stop the exams from being competitive, But what we can do is that we can build ourselves to deal with this competitiveness in a better manner. And to deal with this competitiveness in a better manner, I think we need to holistically understand what are some of the deep concerns that actually lead our students to reach to such extent in which their coping strategies fail. So some of those factors I think have very beautifully been identified in the research that was presented to us, whether it was the increased stress that we were talking about due to the academic and intense pressure to perform at a high competitiveness, or it is the peer pressure, or it is societal pressure, or it is also the stress due to the past negative experiences that the children or the students have gone through, where one, like it was presented, that there are family issues where there is changing family structure, and a young student over here said that distancing from the family can cause loneliness issues or poor coping strategies that we have, because as students we've not been taught how to deal with failure. So there are a lot of factors which are deep that we need to identify, including some of the undetected mental health concerns that are there. Depression, anxiety, India leads with, especially in, and these are being age regress, especially in our young adults. We need to identify first what are the factors contributing to students taking such actions where their coping skills are not adequate enough to be able to deal with this kind of jargon which leads them into negative thinking of helplessness, hopelessness, leading to suicidal thoughts even before attempts, and we are seeing so many commitments towards this, you know. So I think there is a lack of a whole social support system that exists in the society today. And from the parental expectations to the societal expectations, I think we need to get a lot of things in understanding before we can come to
what you're saying, Dr. Barmi, is that there's lack of support. Essentially, Dr. Barmi, you're saying there's lack of support across multiple levels, at the individual level, at the familial level, at the school level or institution level, and at society level as well. Keshav Agarwal, one of the recommendations made by this committee which came up with this report is there needs to be a robust counseling mechanism that has to be placed in all institutions, whether it be school or colleges or higher institutions here. Is that simply feasible in a country like here? Because some of the, I like to put out the graphic states where these deaths have been considered, as our friend Ankit was also telling us, a lot of these suicides are not reported because they happen in rural areas, they happen for people with very little access means. They're not studying in top tier schools and top tier colleges can afford to have a counseling or a psychologist on call to deal with students here. How do we even try and come up with a robust counseling mechanism in an education system and make it part of the education system which has been recommended here?
Right. See, I have been actually studying a lot about this. The report has come, but I share my experience because that is at the ground level. First, if you see the Mr. Majumdar report or suggestions, 6% of GDP was proposed in 1954 education, and it was proposed now in 2020 NEP. So first you understand how much importance is given. Now, second thing is the first pressure comes to a child, especially though what at a lower level, that is parents have expectation. But what I feel, the real career starts when the 10th board comes. So that is the first time you will see a school student getting into the pressure or the phobia of board. And right after that, I'm talking of academic stress, we don't have those facilities of clearing entrance. Now today, one of the major reason is demand and supply gap. I'll give you a very small example and you will understand. The NEET exam, for example, has 23 lakh students and only 1,08,000 seats. And out of that, 56 government. So you see, 50,000 seats for this many students. Now comes the pressure of performance. And you can imagine 56,000 is hardly any 0.25% of that. When student doesn't perform, year after year, the frustration creeps in. And as a result, there are two stress, success stress as well as financial stress. As you said, there is a migration there from rural to urban also. After 10th, a lot of children go out because in their particular town or city, those facilities are not there. They have to stay away from home. And when they stay away from home, their
Yes.
mental state is very different. And here there are two things. One is they get into distractions as a child when he goes out. Second is the exam pressure, the performance pressure. And government hasn't done anything to reduce it, rather it is increasing it. Now, for
But Keshav Agarwal,
example, if you,
let me be the devil's advocate here. You say the crux of your point, Mr. Agarwal, is that we are creating a situation where our students are dealing or having to confront pressure right from class 10 instead. Some would cynically say that's life. For instance, a few years ago, when we had removed board exams from class 10, brought in a grade-based system, the criticism came in that students are not prepared for class 12 and the entrances, which are a far bigger challenge. At least class 10 gives them the opportunity to deal with pressure. Similarly, if you say that students who can't deal with the pressure of coming out, staying outside their families and coming to different urban cities and studying, tomorrow they will have to get jobs in urban cities and stay away from their houses as well. And they will not be equipped because they haven't learned how to deal with pressure. They haven't learned how to go through the process of adulting.
now see, the problem here is you do not find the suicides happening in all entrances. Now you see, you have to think beyond medicine, doctors and engineering. The problem with counseling is that we don't give students option. There is law option, there is architecture, there is design, there is dietitian, so many things. We make them forced to study something they are not made for. As a result, many of them don't perform. And then the student is caught in such a situation like what to do. Now, that is where the counseling comes into picture, which we are discussing. If proper counseling is given and parents don't, there is a parent expectation, which is one of the major cause. They force the child to study something he is not meant for. They don't have a choice. Most of the kids are not given a choice. They are told that tumko ye karna hai. That is where you see the real. They are not decision makers. They don't have any financial independence. And now I'll tell you, have you seen any suicide in CLAT exam after 12th? No. NATA, architecture, no. Why the suicides don't happen there? Why suicides come into this NEET, IIT, medical? Number of seats are less. Today you make 10 lakh medical seats. The suicides will come half. The pressure will go down. But why government having only 56,000 seats after 55 years or after 75 years of independence?
Fair enough.
There is a big question mark. And you have seen one more thing. So many students went.
All right. So, Dr. Barmi, one of the reasons which Dr. Barmi, one of the reasons which Keshav Agarwal is pointing out also been cited in this report as hyper-focused career choices. Youth don't believe or know of an option beyond engineering, beyond medicine, beyond MBAs, or beyond UPSC for that matter, and that is something which leads to a massive amount of pressure in terms of bottleneck, in terms of lacks of aspirants in just a few thousand seats. Do you agree that that is a systemic problem that needs to be resolved?
Yes, I think what is very important at a systemic level is to resolve that problem. And at an individual level, I think we need to promote an open communication. We need to encourage open conversations about what a student really wants to do. And they should feel safe to be able to first identify without judgment and express it, starting at the family level. And thereby, on a systemic level, we should then try and see what can we do to even provide that kind of support. So one support could be that we could, schools and parents should focus on creating a balanced academic environment, emphasizing personal growth and learning over just merely grades, which then makes them very, very competitive. And when they're not able to reach that competitiveness, then it kind of leads them to feeling helpless, hopeless, and leading them to poor coping strategies. Another thing I think we should do is we should foster good social connections. We should encourage students to build strong supportive relationships with their peers and teachers in addition to their family members. And of course, we should address things like peer pressure and bullying. At a systemic level, we should implement anti-bullying programs and create a school culture where there are kindness and inclusivity which is prioritized. We should better educate on coping mechanisms. And I think very important at a systemic level, we should enhance the mental health resources that we should be able to provide to our students. Starting with educational institutions or schools, they should provide easy access to mental health resources, including not just counseling services, but even maybe something like a peer support program. And I think it's very important, especially in times of today where the whole system is in flux, that regular mental health screenings can help identify at-risk students earlier. And we will not have this kind of
very valid suggestions coming in, Dr. Barmi.
Mental health psyche.
Those are some very valid suggestions coming in, Doctor. And I'll let Ankit have the last word because Ankit is actually in the line of fire. I shouldn't be using these terms because these create psychologically a sense of pressure. Ankit, do you feel today that you are being surrounded by a comforting, nurturing environment? If not, what would you want in your life which you feel would help you focus more on academics, even then focus more on making yourself feel better and live better?
I want to club two things here. First, the most important learning center for a child is the household, and our society not that much mature to handle mental issues. When someone goes to someone to tell this, I am facing some type of mental issue, we call it दिमाग चल गया है, पागल हो गया है. So we make the taboo out of that. In that condition, student will not share the thing with anyone, with the family, with the relatives, and it will keep in his mind. And this will create a very distressful situation where he or she knows what he and she can do in a minute. If you see this, the society thing, just a bit of it's just a bit. You take a decision, take your life, and you just take it. So we don't take these things very seriously at societal level. First of all, things should be changed at our household level itself. Family should understand these mental issues very real. We usually don't take it very seriously unless we lost someone from our house or someone from our society or surrounding. True. So first thing, I think society and these parents need to be changed, and we should be as a student, I should, or my colleagues or even my juniors and seniors, they always say ki we should have an open communication. As ma'am has said already, ki we need an open communication where we can say what we're feeling now.
We need a supportive peer network as well.
Yes.
Yes, and yes, we need a supportive network. We need a more supportive understanding at the family level. That, of course, awareness. It's a battle that has to be fought on multiple levels, at the community level, at the personal level, and at the government level here. But we would like to just say that two things. One is, we are now going to put out a helpline on our screens for anyone, for any of your viewers who might be finding it a bit difficult dealing with their academics or may know someone who may need help. We have put out a list of resources on the screens. Please feel free to take a screenshot of it and reach out to these helplines. And there's a website there as well. You'll be directed to state level helplines as well. There are resources available to you, and we hope that no one ever ends their life in the absence of resources here. Dr. Bhavna Barmi, Keshav Agarwal, and Ankit Singh Chauhan, thank you so much for joining us on this very important debate. It's time for a short break. On the other side, we focus, of course, on the latest developments coming in from Justice Devi campaign. Stay tuned.